is a production of WLRN Public Television. Major funding for this film was provided by the Joe Asmundson Production Fund. Additional funding was provided by the Batchelor Foundation, Royal Caribbean Cruises Limited, Geosyntec, and Florida Power and Light Company, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Long ago, a mighty flood cleansed from the earth selfish human beings living out of harmony with nature. One man survived. With the world's animals surrounding him, he waited in vain for the waters to recede. And so, the animals retrieved a speck of dirt from the depths of the sea, and the man shaped it as it grew, until his hands could no longer carry the burden of the earth. Then Turtle emerged from the ocean. "I have a strong back," he said, "place it here." This new world flourished on that turtle's back until man set foot on a new world where all could live in harmony. Algonquin Creation Parable.
Sea turtles are being hit from all angles.
Most of the sea turtles that we see here are here because of human impact-related issues.
The last 3 years, in fact, have been the hottest on record.
Too hot is really bad. You can't recover from too hot.
We will no longer have any males to help with the reproduction of this species.
All of a sudden, turtles started to show up with maybe 1 or 2 little tumors on.
What we see here is actually the stomach content of a single sea turtle that was found dead.
The bottom of the food chain is starting to ingest the plastic and die.
What we see happening to these turtles, we're eventually going to see happen to all of life.
I've followed the environment for many, many years, and I think I've never seen anything quite as bad as what's going on now.
These animals that tug at your heartstrings, that are these majestic sea creatures, really die off in these massive droves like this.
It's truly apocalyptic, and it's happening before our eyes.
We only have one home, one planet. There is no planet B.
It can be said that human history is written in blood and salt water. From survival and sustenance to adventure and conquest, man has always looked toward the sea to provide. Perhaps no creature symbolizes our relationship with the ocean more than the sea turtle. While born on land, these archangels of the underwater world have navigated our waterways since the age of the dinosaur, filling a vital role in balance of every ecosystem they cross. But now, sea turtles are the ones in need of human protection. From the time their eggs are laid on hot sands to the time they swim out into polluted waters, sea turtles are under constant threat. Their plight tells a tale of how our march toward progress has left a trail of unintended consequences that threatens their very survival, and ours. Conservationists believe the health of the sea turtle tells us the health of the ocean, and the health of the ocean reflects the health of the planet. So what are these creatures trying to tell us now? Could they be sending us an urgent warning? And will we listen in time?
Turtles have been around millions of years. And they are now, most of them, either on an endangered species list or they're actually gone. So they're kind of like the canary in the mine. Some turtles are predators and they eat jellyfish. If you remove the turtle from the ecosystem, from the ocean, all of a sudden you're going to not be able to go swimming like you like to do because you'll be swamped by jellyfish. So you can't just extract randomly or let a whole species die off without thinking it'll have an impact on the entire environment.
The son of an archaeologist and anthropologist, actor Ted Danson grew up understanding the meaning of legacy and what we leave behind. As a spokesperson for Oceana, he uses his celebrity status to advocate the protection and restoration of the ocean, where up to 80% of all life on this earth call home.
My name's Fraser Nivens. I'm an underwater cinematographer living and working in Key Largo, Florida. I love what I do. I'm inspired every time I go down underwater. The ocean continually amazes me. Swimming around over the coral reefs, the beauty of the corals, the abundance of marine life is just incredible. You never know what you're going to see underwater.
A sea turtle glides along in the big blue ocean, foraging amongst the majestic coral reefs as our ancestors have done for millennia. Adorable as hatchlings, awe-inspiring as mature adults, cousins to the dinosaur, sea turtles are a link to a prehistoric past. They captivate the human imagination and we simply love them. But too often, we humans destroy the things we love most.
You're gonna get wet.
This is pointless. The boots are gonna get flooded. Thank you.
The sea turtle was floating at the surface of the water, unable to dive, unable to swim. Not only was this turtle in the Intracoastal Waterway, but she was in the inlet of the Intracoastal Waterway where there was heavy boat traffic.
So this turtle was found floating in the intercoastal, so he's likely got some type of internal infection. The vet's taking a look at him right now. It's a loggerhead. Good question.
This turtle was emaciated, covered in barnacles, almost unrecognizable.
Thank you. We'll go wait behind the gate. Just go get some water and we'll meet you there. That sounds good. Okay.
As she's carted away from the concerned crowd surrounding her, this loggerhead turtle is listless and unresponsive. Just a few more minutes floating motionless in heavily trafficked waters, and she would likely have been struck by a boat and killed. Her rescuers will call her Dune, after the sandy hills where turtles come to nest. But now, the very nesting grounds she was named after are under threat by rising temperatures caused by climate change. The Earth is heating up faster than it has since the Stone Age. The result? Each day, up to 200 species of plants and animals vanish from the planet forever. Scientists believe marine animals are hardest hit, disappearing at twice the rate of those on land because they have fewer places to seek shelter from rising temperatures. The mass extinction rate is now between 1,000 and 10,000 times greater than what is considered natural. The world hasn't experienced loss like this since the disappearance of the dinosaurs nearly 65 million years ago.
When we burn coal, oil, and natural gas, it releases carbon dioxide. And some of that goes up into the atmosphere and basically traps heat. So that's climate change. A lot of it is also absorbed directly into seawater, which makes ocean more acidic. The science is very clear. There really is no scientific debate about whether climate change is real, whether it's a problem, or whether humans are contributing to it.
Every morning during sea turtle nesting season, from March the 1st through October 31st, we are surveying Boca Raton's 5 miles of beach, looking for all the sea turtle nesting activity that happened the night before. Pulling up to the nests, getting out, marking the nest accordingly, recording all the data associated with that nest, including GPS coordinates, the species, etc. Sea turtles are being hit from all sides and all angles with certain problems that are caused by humans.
In the past, when I started, each nest will have about 100 eggs in it, and of that, we would see about 85 to 90 of those eggs hatch. The last 3 years, in fact, have been the hottest on record, and what's happened is the hatch success goes way down. In 2016, we only had 38% of the eggs hatch. Last year, we only had 60% hatch, so that's obviously not a good thing.
The sea turtles are going about their business like they've done for millions of years, laying their nest in the sand. These environmental changes have been occurring at a much faster rate than any animal like a sea turtle could adapt or adjust to.
Only 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 10,000 of the hatchlings are going to survive anyway, so starting off like that is just really bad for the turtles.
At FAU Labs, Dr. Jeanette Wyneken and her team have been studying the effect of rising temperatures and drier summers on the sea turtle populations for the last 18 years. Their findings confirm what conservationists are seeing on the beaches. During the worst years, less than 40% of eggs hatched. And now, an even more worrisome discovery: missing males. In turtles, sex is determined by the nest's environment. Warmer temperatures produce females and cooler temperatures produce males. For the last 10 years, virtually all hatchlings have been born female. In fact, not a single male hatchling has been found on the beaches here in over 3 years.
A lot of the turtles that we saw were trapped in these rotten eggs, and then they also had some birth defects that we picked up on later. It's kind of alarming to go out and look at what's happening in nature and not be able to find males. And what we saw over the last 3 years was pretty darn frightening. A good sea turtle nest is incubating somewhere between 85 and 92 degrees. We were getting nests that were incubating up around 96, 97 degrees. That's not compatible with production of hatchlings.
Hot nests often result in tiny heat-stressed turtles with birth defects.
This is an example of a turtle with a birth defect. It has a double cleft palate, so that's part of the palate is gone on both sides. In 2016, we had the hottest year on record, and we also had one of the driest summers on record, and our production of nests dropped to less than 50%. So the nests were being laid, the embryos were dying in the nest and they were never turning into hatchlings. So in 2016, it was a nightmare. Is this a Florida problem? Well, we now know, no, it's not just a Florida problem. It's also a problem in Australia, where there's recently been some very good work done.
Research scientists studying Australia's Great Barrier Reef are reporting a 99% female bias in green sea turtle populations. Hotter seas are affecting turtles in other ways, as dying reefs mean dwindling food supplies. Half of the Great Barrier Reef has been bleached to death since 2016 due to rising temperatures. Massive efforts are being made to save what's left.
The Turnbull government is announcing the single largest funding boost to reef restoration and the protection of the Great Barrier Reef in Australia's history.
Dr. Wyneken's research mirrors what's being seen in Australia.
We're seeing years where we don't see any males, and we're seeing several years in a row where we don't see any males in our sampling. And that's the alarming part of what's come from doing a long-term study.
Embryos are burning up inside their eggs. those that do manage to hatch are all female. One way or the other, if nothing changes, Dr. Wyneken fears it could inevitably lead us to the same outcome: extinction.
Too hot is really bad. You can't recover from too hot because that too hot changes the structure of the chemicals that are absolutely necessary for life. Or we're going to have to fix what we're screwing up in the environment. And it's not going to be a fast fix. So the turtles teach us patience. We can't just keep making it worse.
Wherever sea turtles live in close proximity to humans, rehabilitation centers and hospitals help to mitigate the effects we're having on them.
Oh my gosh! She's not floating. Yay!
All right, the gas vest is working.
Yep. I guess her boat strike injury isn't going to be a permanent problem.
At Gumbo Limbo's Turtle Rehabilitation Center in Boca Raton, Florida, staff veterinarian Dr. Maria Chatham and rehab manager Whitney Crowder try to not get too attached to the patients they admit, but it can be tough.
Yeah, this turtle might be in trouble. She's come such a long way with her eyes.
These turtles go through so much.
At least if we have to euthanize her, she'll have been able to see for a little while.
3 weeks ago, Dune was dehydrated and emaciated. She likely hadn't eaten in months. Testing revealed infections from her lungs to her blood.
Her shell is looking a bit better, but let's keep putting honey on it because she had a huge barnacle load. So I want to make sure that all those areas where the barnacles come off are getting honey treatment.
Okay.
How has her appetite been?
She's been ferociously eating, so
Oh,
her
that's
appetite's
great.
been great, yeah.
Yeah.
She's improving.
Yeah, she's pretty feisty.
Yeah, she's definitely got to fight.
Staff and volunteers hope to inspire visitors to do more than just admire sea turtles. Often it takes startling and sobering facts about the results of their choices to make people finally change their behavior. Down in the Florida Keys, Betty Zirkelbach manages the Marathon Turtle Hospital, the oldest full-time turtle hospital in the nation.
Here at the Turtle Hospital, we got to give you a little turtle scrub. It's all-consuming, but it's a lifestyle choice. And they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I kind of feel that way. The patients, you know, they're coming in and going out on a daily basis. Each one that comes in, we treat like it's the only patient. Each one, our goal and mission is to return it to the wild. So it doesn't matter if it's 12 midnight or 12 in the afternoon. If that turtle needs you, this is where we are. So the cases that really stick in my mind are the fighters. And there's one case, and I'm trying to get emotional, still get emotional to talk about, was a little turtle named May. And she came into the ER and she had a pack cell volume of, I think, 2, and her heart rate was like 4, which was all but dead. But there's something in her eyes I saw, and I can't tell you what it was, but I just, I would stay at night with her, giving her fluids, and for 15 days, she was in the ER, dry docked, with nothing but this catheter into her bone marrow, and she survived, and she came through that, and she not only survived, but she thrived and returned to sea 2 years later as just this fat, happy turtle. So whenever I have a really difficult case come into the ER, that turtle really reminds me that, if they're willing to fight, we're gonna give it everything we have and get them through.
Turtle Hospital founder Richie Moretti never planned on a life dedicated to saving turtles.
So we asked the state, can I get a green sea turtle for my educational program? And they said, no, they're endangered, you can't have one for education. And unless you do something for the turtles. I said, all right, I know a hook when I hear it. I said, what do you need? They said, well, we need a rehabber. I said, well, what's a rehabber? They said, well, if a turtle gets hit by a boat, you take it to the vet, you pay the bill, you buy the medicine, you pay the bill, you buy the food, you pay the bill, and when they're healthy, you let them go. Well, that's right at 3,000 turtles ago from that one turtle I wanted.
At first, the hospital mostly took in straightforward cases. turtles hit by boats or caught by fishing hooks. But somewhere in the mid-1980s, Ritchie began detecting a worrisome change in the appearance of his rescue patients.
And the turtles were a lot of fun to start with until we had this little problem. All of a sudden, turtles started to show up with maybe 1 or 2 little tumors on them. Well, then as time went by, they'd come in with more tumors. So we started asking around, and everybody with the state and federal government, they said, oh, they're cosmetic, slightly debilitating. Well, I'm watching these turtles, and they're not doing well.
They're horrific. It's really hard to look at. They look like big warts or big growths all over the turtles. The tumors are on the eyes, anywhere there's soft tissue. They're now showing up on the shell and also internalizing. They impede the turtle, if their eyes are covered, they can't see to eat. If their flippers are covered, they have a hard time swimming. They look kind of like a creature, from outer space. I mean, they don't look like a turtle, some of them.
The virus is called fibropapilloma, and it's reaching alarming levels. According to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, reported cases have grown nearly 400% since the 1980s.
She had tumors covering both of her eyes, and you can see they're healing nicely. And she's probably got about 3 more surgeries in front of her.
Did humans cause fibropapilloma? Well, it was first discovered in the 1930s, and it was very uncommon. It wasn't very common, and in the 1980s, it started to become an epidemic. So it's a disease that's been there in turtle populations for a long time, and then with increased people, increased populations, more pollution, more nitrogen runoff, could all lead to more frequent manifestations of tumors.
Well, fibropapilloma is now pandemic across all 7 species. Green sea turtles are hit especially hard. In Florida, nearly half of these herbivores have been reported to contract the virus.
Well, it makes sense that these juvenile green turtles have this disease because they're herbivores. So they're eating grasses and algae that are filtrating all of those pollutions into those food items.
When Juniper arrived at Gumbo Limbo, tumors covered nearly 20% of this green turtle's 12-pound frame. They covered her eyes. She was nearly blind.
The turtle that we just did was a large amount of tumors. That was one of the more severe ones that we do surgery on. And that's partly because the tumors were so large and clustered together. I think she's going to heal well. Hopefully in about a month, we can take her back to surgery and take the rest of the tumors off, and she should be out in the ocean by the end of the summer, hopefully.
But overnight, Juniper takes a sudden turn for the worse. By morning, she had died.
Juniper didn't make it. So we're obviously devastated. All of our staff and volunteers that put so much into helping these turtles are always really hurt when these turtles don't make it, and it's difficult to deal with.
There are a lot of impacts on sea turtles, everything from the natural climate to still plenty of human-induced issues. One of the big issues that we face in this area are lighting issues. Sea turtles are drawn to the beach. Ideally, they're coming up on a very dark beach. The mothers and the babies both use the brightest horizon as the way to get back to the water. That should be the moon and stars reflecting off the water. Unfortunately, that street light or that building or that home might have a light that's much, much brighter. And so what we're seeing is very high rates of disorientation in some areas where the lights maybe aren't quite as sea turtle friendly as they could be. One of the other large issues that these animals face is debris and trash in our oceans. In many places, plastics and things like that are throughout our oceans worldwide.
Plastic is one of the few things the immense power of the ocean can't destroy. If the Pilgrims traveling on the Mayflower had plastic water bottles to throw overboard as they made their way to the New World, we'd still be finding them in the water today, just in smaller pieces.
My mom is a marine biologist, so I grew up with the conservation mindset my entire life. When I was little, there would be kids with their buckets full of sand and full of seashells, and mine would be filled with trash that I picked up off the beach. We got a total of, 53 pounds of trash today, just in 1 hour, which is crazy.
Where did you find this?
So all of this trash right here was picked up this morning on that beach right out there.
Oh, yeah.
So do you see that there's like tons of plastic in here? So right in here, there is a triangular shaped just piece taken out of this plastic, and that is, we believe, to be from sea turtles.
Right now, sea turtles are eating plastic lighters, bottle caps, bits of straws, toothbrushes, all of the throwaway plastic items that we're buying.
Sea turtles die because they think they're eating a jellyfish or something good, but it's a shiny piece of plastic.
Current estimates are that we're using about 5 trillion plastic bags a year. And that's also the one estimate anyway of how many pieces of plastic there are in the ocean today. Of all those plastic bags, we've only recycled about 1%. And I'd be surprised, honestly, if it was that high.
What we see here is actually the stomach content of a single sea turtle that was found dead 2 years ago. And you can imagine if this is in your stomach, you'll feel saturated. You actually don't get any nutrients in. So there's, of course, a risk to starvation, to death. And also, it causes turtles to be more buoyant. And a lot of them, they have to feed on the seabed. So yeah, if you can't dive down again, of course, that's another problem. So I think this is really a testament to how big the plastic pollution problem is.
While adult turtles are often able to pass the plastic they eat, for hatchlings, it's a death sentence.
Last year, we actually had 4,000 hatchlings in our rehabilitation facility. With every sea turtle that dies here, we do a necropsy, and 100% of our sea turtles that we necropsy, hatchling size, are filled with some sort of plastic.
Why are younger turtles so affected by plastic debris? It's largely because of where they live. Unlike adults that roam the ocean, hatchlings stay in the weed lines searching for food. Their feeding grounds are also a perfect trap for plastics.
They swim out to what's called the sargassum, which is the weed line. And they live on the weed line until they're about 4 years old. So on the weed line, they're eating and gaining strength. But the weed line now is full of plastic particles. So by default, they're just eating the plastic. We keep this and we show it to the public so they understand how plastic's impacting the little guys. So it's a big problem. As you can see, some of this plastic's really sharp. It's painful, it can puncture their gut.
Discarded plastic six-pack rings kill thousands of marine animals each year and injure countless more. In Delray Beach, Florida, 2 brewery owners and beach-loving best friends have introduced an edible solution to the problem.
With the six-pack, they haven't changed since the 50s. So no one's really ever thought about it because they just thought that's the way things are. And we've noticed that it's just piled up, and it's actually one of the most harmful environmental products for any wildlife, really.
The worst one is the picture you see of the turtle, that their shell turns almost into it looks like a peanut or like a big 8. That's because the ring is wrapped around their shell, and as they grew, the ring wouldn't break off, and their shell pretty much grew around the plastic ring.
So the whole idea was, hey, let's just try to create something that's a full circle in terms of using waste and turning it into a product that then also can benefit the ocean.
It's biodegradable. It's made out of all the spent grain from the brewing process, so it would break apart, it would start dissolving in the water. Also, if something eats it, it's just like food.
In the life is stranger than fiction category, plastic-eating worms and plastic-munching bacteria are being studied at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Golden, Colorado. Dr. Greg Beckham is leading that research in hopes that these mutant microorganisms can one day lead to a truly biodegradable plastic.
So in 2016, in the journal Science, there was a really exciting report from a Japanese research group where they sent students out to literally dig in the dirt for looking for organisms, bacteria in particular, that would be able to eat polyethylene terephthalate, which is a commodity plastic that we use in carpets and in water bottles and fizzy drink bottles. And they wanted to understand and look for an organism that would be able to eat that basically as a major food source. PET has only been around, for about 30 to 50 years in sort of major consumption of, for example, single-use beverage bottles. What we wanted to understand was how this new food source for bacteria, how bacteria have evolved from clearly something that's already in the soil to be able to eat something that has been in the soil for about 50 years or so. I think in terms of technology solutions, there are several that we need to work on. One is, can we clean up the plastics that are already in the ocean now? The other is, can we develop better technology solutions to reclaim, recycle, and upcycle the plastics that we make today? And going forward, to enable a truly circular materials economy where plastics are not a problem in the ocean and they're not a pollution problem. We need to be thinking about how to design new plastics of the future that are inherently recyclable and that are inherently biodegradable, and that can be sourced from renewable molecules like you could get, for example, from waste plant material and other types of renewably sourced carbon.
Within 5 years, Dr. Beckham hopes to develop a marketable plastic replacement which can biodegrade in 1 year instead of thousands. Plastic debris affects not just turtles, but all marine life. 60 years ago, plastic was found in 5% of seabirds. Today, it's 90%. Whales from Germany to Thailand have been found dead, their stomachs filled with plastic bags, buckets, even car parts.
There's so much plastic in the ocean at this point that we find it off of Antarctica, we find it in Arctic waters, we find it at the bottom of the deepest parts of the ocean. It's literally everywhere that we've ever looked, we're finding plastic now.
The real problem is plastics disintegrate. They don't go away, but they get into smaller and smaller and smaller little pieces. At the bottom of the food chain, which is so important for you and me to have food, the bottom of the food chain is starting to ingest the plastic.
So from there, it travels up the food chain. We're eating plastic, we're drinking plastic, we're breathing plastic. At this point, we've produced so much that we really can't escape it. It's in our drinking water, it's in our seafood, it's in our sea salt.
If you look at the coastal waters around the world, they will be full of whatever it is we are doing on land, meaning you may be 15, 20 miles from the beach, but you change your oil and it gets in a storm drain and eventually everything ends up in the coastal water. So if you're farming near a river and all the pesticides you're using end up flowing into the ocean. So all the plastics we use end up in the ocean. Everything gets washed into the ocean. We thought we could dump anything for the longest time, and now we are realizing we can't. That the oceans have taken pretty much everything they can take, and now it's starting to have an impact on our health.
I think it's imperative that we do as much as we possibly can to change our daily routines. Even minute changes can make huge differences in the outcome of our planet. I believe what we do in the next 10 years will predicate what it looks like for the next 10,000.
While plastic pollution is an ever-present and deadly threat, there's another killer at work below the surface. An unprecedented environmental crisis hitting the Gulf Coast of Florida, killing sea turtles and nearly all marine life in its path. This fatal toxin is called red tide.
What this neurotoxin does when it gets into the waterways, it inhibits, such as fish, it inhibits the abilities for that fish to exchange gases, the CO2 it wants to expel and the uptake of oxygen.
Toxic algae blooms have been happening forever. But what's different now is that they're happening more frequently and more intensely. They're lasting longer. And so the impact is much more severe. This one has been one of the worst in recent memory. Hundreds of dead sea turtles, and those are just the ones that we've seen. It seems much more likely that the numbers are actually in the thousands. We've seen dead hatchlings, and I think very often we wouldn't even know about those. So it's dead adults and dead baby turtles. On top of that, it's affecting people. It's really causing serious respiratory problems, especially for elderly and children. The causes are partly due to climate change. Increased temperatures increases the chances that we have large toxic algae blooms like this. We're putting more nutrients into the water, and this is from industrial agriculture is probably the biggest culprit, and also phosphate mines in Florida seem to be a big part of the problem.
There's also such a huge economic loss to these areas. Many, many different sources, right? We've heard everybody pointing the finger at Big Sugar and Lake Okeechobee, but also we've got very dense communities along the shoreline. They're all wanting to put fertilizers on their lawns and things like that. We've also had a hurricane event last year. Hurricanes have a way of dredging up all these nutrients that had settled into the sand.
It really definitely hurts. I mean, it's hurt our business. Like I say, about 40% of our customers don't come because they just don't feel comfortable going out there.
Most of our turtles here right now have been affected by red tide. They've come in and they're just so lethargic. They can barely lift their head to breathe. When they're that lethargic and they can't breathe, they end up washing up. Or if they don't wash up, they could end up drowning out there. The smaller ones, unfortunately, are the ones that we've been finding that are dead. These bigger ones, they have more of a GI tract, so they can hold more in their body. So we think maybe it takes longer for it to work through their system so they don't crash as soon as the other ones. This is Sea Pearl. She came in, it's going on like 3 weeks now. She is not doing as well as the others. It's taking her a little bit longer to recover.
The defenders who are causing the trouble say, well, it's a natural process. We didn't do it. They're half right and half wrong. It started natural, and then they gave it a gigantic booster shot.
Environmental research scientists like Dr. William Mitch expect red tide blooms to become a frequent occurrence, hitting harder and lasting longer, unless we stop allowing polluted water into our oceans. But where should it go?
It's a dilemma we have. Do we put it in the Everglades, or do we put it in the estuaries right now? Obviously, we shouldn't put it anywhere if it's polluted. And right now, that's getting all dumped down to the seacoast, Atlantic side and the Gulf of Mexico. And I don't think society or agriculture is ready to bite the bullet and do what has to be done, and that is to create perhaps as much as 100,000 acres of treatment wetlands to take the nutrients out before it goes south to the Everglades.
Rebecca Hazelcorn is a senior biologist at Mote Marine Laboratories in Sarasota, Florida. In the summer of 2018, her team had a front row seat to the ecological disaster devastating the coast as they recovered thousands of the dead, victims of red tide.
Easy for people to see behind the comfort of their computer screen and to look and see it that way. It becomes very different, very real, very in your face when you see it in your backyard. It's a lot more difficult for people to stomach and stand. It's not fun. We are very much scientists, and we have to kind of compartmentalize those feelings and put on our science hat and go to work and deal with the issues at hand. Not that it doesn't affect us, not that we don't get burned out and run down, and we've had partners that have even come close to having PTSD from really, really traumatic mass drowning events, because it's very hard to see these animals that tug at your heartstrings, that are these majestic sea creatures, really, die off in these massive droves like this. Turtles are definitely tough. They have a very, very tough life. From the minute those eggs are laid on the beach to when they are hatchling and trying to grow up, they fight a lot of different factors, both natural and then man-made, us with boats and collisions and entanglements, things like that. So when we start seeing some of these really big mature animals that are contributing back to their population getting taken out by red tide after they've survived and made it that far in life. It's heartbreaking. It's very hard to see and definitely does not bode well for the future of the animals.
When Dune was rescued, she was on the brink of death. But now, after months of treatment, she's like a brand new sea turtle, chunky and spunky.
All right, girl. This turtle just rallied and from the get-go, you know, we did really intensive therapy.
She is 175 pounds of feisty turtle. She's definitely healthy and has told us on numerous occasions that she's ready to go back out in the ocean.
I would say without a doubt, Dune is the feistiest turtle we've ever had in our facility.
Yep, definitely.
Though thrilled at the prospect of getting a healthy Dune back into the ocean, people here can't help but worry about her future after release. Thoughts turn to another staff favorite, who arrived here under very similar circumstances.
50 was a little loggerhead that was found in the intercoastal by a family who lived there. That turtle had been struck by a boat. It was a fresh boat strike, which we don't always see. It was a community effort. The police were involved. They helped bring the turtle here in their squad car. He had severe wounds and a broken leg.
We treated that turtle for a year. And we actually ended up satellite tracking that turtle and kind of learning a little bit more about its post-rehabilitation behavior. And it did end up back in intercoastal waters.
But I guess it was about 6 months later that that turtle was found not alive and had been struck by another boat. So, as you can imagine, that was really hard for us.
Those types of stories really get your heart, and they're sad.
The ending wasn't very good.
While tragic, 50's story is far from unique. Everyday human activity and carelessness is responsible for the injury and death of hundreds of thousands of sea turtles.
Most of the sea turtles that we see here are here because of human impact-related issues. We see turtles that are entangled in trash or monofilament. We get a lot of turtles that are hooked by fishermen. We get turtles that are hit by boats.
One of the hardest cases for me are the cases where we have the 70-year-old turtles that have survived our ocean for so many decades, and they come in with an entanglement injury from fishing gear and then have to lose a flipper.
Sea turtles face another peril. A recently published global data review reveals that over the past 20 years, millions have been inadvertently snared by commercial fishing nets.
The U.S. government has come a long way in addressing overfishing, and that's good news and something that I think we can be proud of. We haven't done such a good job at the ecosystem effects of our fisheries. Bycatch is a big part of that. We are still killing an enormous amount of marine life that we're not even eating. So, for example, we're trying to catch tuna, and we actually kill sharks, sea turtles, or seabirds.
While rescuers worry about releasing their patients to an uncertain future in troubled waters, the goal remains the same: to send them home.
About 75% of our sea turtles are rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
As much as the stories are sad and we do lose turtles and boat strikes are dangerous and hooks cause problems and pollution is definitely an issue for our animals, the people that come here are part of the change that's going to make a difference for them. And so I think for us, that's really the biggest thing that keeps us going every day, is that we're spreading the message of hope and action and what we can do to help.
I heard someone the other day say, is this like a game of whack-a-mole, that it's just going to keep coming up? And it is. So we are fixing a turtle one at a time, and we're returning them to the ocean, which is a wonderful thing. When people see you taking this much care to take care of a turtle, they want to care. They want to care about something. Compassion is contagious. That's my favorite line. They're always looking for a way out. There's some turtles in their tank that are always checking that tank side, looking for a way out. And when you put them back to their natural home in the ocean and you let them out of that release tub, they swim, and then when they realize there's no walls, they just swim out to the ocean. So it's pretty incredible. We're preparing the turtles to attach the satellite tags, and a big part of that is scoring the shell so that epoxy has something to grab onto. Coco is the first adult male sea turtle fitted with a satellite tag here at the Turtle Hospital. The females, they come back on the beach to nest. So it's an opportunity for research scientists to place those transmitter tags on those turtles. But the males, they hatch out as babies. They go out to sea and they never come back on land. Returning these ancient creatures to the sea is always an amazing day, but having them fitted with transmitter tags and being able to follow where they go is just an incredible day. Very successful today.
June is
She knows something's going on for sure. Anytime we walk towards her tank, she's looking at us, and I think she has a sense that she's going home.
I think so too. I think she definitely has an idea that there's like a different activity level today and there's more going on. When we get to the beach, we'll see for sure that she knows exactly where she's going and what she wants to do. I mean, sometimes we get really emotional, you know, sometimes we cry and because the turtles that are here, it's not like they get used to being here. When they're getting better, it's like they want to leave, which is great. They don't become attached to us. They become more wild. So they become crazy and they want to get out of their tanks. So it's a great feeling that they just have that instinct to just go back to the ocean because that's where they belong. She did exactly what we would have expected, kind of sniffed around, got her bearings, and then headed straight for the ocean. So she knew what she was doing and can't wait to see what she does after this.
It's difficult to comprehend issues as vast as the oceans themselves. But this is the moment for introspection and action. Collectively, we can make a huge difference. Enough drops in a bucket can eventually fill an ocean.
No matter who you are, you can make a difference by either going to beach cleanups and helping to clean your nearest beaches or your waterways.
So the 3 R's of recycling are recycle, reuse, and reduce. The other one, the 4th one, should really be refuse. So do you really need that plastic straw? Do you really need the plastic bag to put one thing in while you're shopping? So the refuse is a big aspect that I think should be used more often.
The solutions are pretty straightforward. We just have to stop burning fossil fuels. We have to shift from coal, oil, and natural gas to renewable green technologies like solar and wind. This stuff is in our power.
This time that we're here is not just about us. It's about being good stewards of what we've been given, you know? When you walk around, when you go around the planet and the earth and your life, leave it in better shape than when you found it. My message to people is, yes, there's lots of scary stuff out there, but there are things that we can do to make them better. And you will feel so much more happy and joyous and engaged in life if you start being part of the solution. I really, truly mean that.
Sea turtles been around for around 100, 120 million years, somewhere in there. It's a long time. If we're the ones who are responsible for the extinction of sea turtles, that's That's not okay. We can fix it. We can, it's going to take lots of different kinds of efforts, but we can fix this problem. We can fix putting too much greenhouse gas in the air. We can fix keeping the plastics out of the ocean, get them out of the ocean. And, those are solutions, and those are achievable solutions. We start fixing those things, some of the other things will start taking care of themselves, and we won't be responsible for extinctions.
Whether it's a simple thing like not using plastic bags and bringing your own bags, or something a little bit bigger like getting involved in your local government and helping create change that can help all of our environmental areas, all of our ecosystems, and help animals worldwide.
We can make better decisions. I think for many of us, the real motivator is more about love and compassion than it is anger.
Here's what you should do. You should go to the beach if you can, jump in the water, go fishing, walk with your kids along the beach, something that reconnects you to the joy that you get when you're around the ocean.
Voyagers of the seas, ancient messengers from the deep. Sea turtles are showing us an imbalance in our world we can't ignore. If sea turtles are a barometer for the health of the planet, is it possible that by working to save these majestic creatures, we save ourselves as well?
Major funding for this film was provided by the Joe Asmundson Production Fund. Additional funding was provided by the Batchelor Foundation, Royal Caribbean Cruises Limited, Geosyntec, and Florida Power and Light Company, and by viewers like you. Thank you. You can find out more information about this topic at turtletale.org. Troubled Waters, A Turtle's Tale is available on DVD for $25 and Blu-ray for $30 plus shipping and handling. To order, please visit shop.wlrn.org.